this computer. Okay, so for the breakdown and the keys in the breakdowns, I'm calling frame 1 the contact position, frame 4 the extreme down position, frame 7 the passing position, frame 10 the extreme up position, 13 is passing position, 16 is extreme down, 19 is passing, 22 is extreme up, and then we're back to contact position at 25. So if you're, and this is, you know, if I just play this, it's a fairly even walk as far as the pace is concerned. It's not like super fast or super slow, just kind of right in the middle, standard walk. So again, 1, 13, and 25, those are contact positions. And I wanted to be really clear that 1 and 25 are basically the exact same. It's just that 25 has advanced forward, but essentially the whole body's in the same position, just move forward. 13 is the exact mirror image of 1 and 25, which also means that 7 and 19 are essentially mirror images of each other as the passing positions. And then we have 3 and 16 are the mirror images of each other, those extreme downs. And then 10 and 22 are mirror images of each other as extreme ups. So those are just the, you know, whatever software an animator uses, or even if it's not a software, if you're just traditionally animating this, those are your drawings. And you can see that all this is still in stepped. But I wanted to show you guys, if, for example, I wanted to find frame 4, of course, I'm going to use my all button. And let's say I hadn't animated frame 4 yet. Let's say that's just gone. So from 1 to 7, you can see that it just pops there. But I want to set frame 4 as my next frame. So I have my all button selected, then I hit S for set, and you can see that it automatically sets it defaults to spline, but I'm gonna just change that back to step for a second. And what I want to do is find, even though what I've set is 4, I want to figure the body out first, the core of the character, whether this is a ball like this character or a full body character. I want to set the core first. And since this is moving mostly in the translate Z, I don't want to see in the graph editor, I don't want to see all the other values. I'm just going to look at translate Z moving forward. So I'm going to select Z. And right now the value is the same as 1 because I set it to stepped. You can see 1 is negative 1.177 and 4 is negative 1.177. So this is one way to work in the graph editor, and it's not the only way, but it's a clean, organized way. So I'm not selecting the whole thing and setting everything to spline, but what I'm going to do is just go to I'm going to very carefully control what's happening with the main translate Z, and then I'll add more and more splines one at a time. So at 4, I don't want this to be exactly the same as 1. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to take 1, and for now I'm going to use this flat tangent. Either I could use that or I can use this linear tangent. Maybe I'll set both 1 and 7 to linear. Now it gives me a straight line. So when we walk, we pretty much walk with a straight, a consistent velocity. We don't like speed up and slow down or ease in and ease out as we walk. So I'm just going to use this it's basically just the midpoint between these two, between 1 and 7. So at with a linear tangent, with 1 and 7 set to linear tangent, I'm going to key a new translate z at 4. So the other thing, that's the translate z, but I also need to look at translate y. You can see from 4 to 7 it pops up. So let's look at translate y. I can do the same thing there. I'm going to go to translate y, just holding, and I just have the main control around the belly of this ball selected, nothing else. I'm going to take the translate y and delete it. Then I'm going to reset 1 and 7. You can see it goes up a little bit. So I hit S. So now I have a new position at 4 for the translate Z and translate Y. Is there any translate X? You guys remember?
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Julia's frozen again. So she's going to come in hopefully soon. She had to restart.
Okay. Yeah, well, hopefully this video will, she can watch this if she missed some stuff later. So mostly I've been looking at the side view, but if we look at the front view, you can see that it pops from 4 to 7 also, because we have that weight shift over to the planted foot. So at frame 4, I'm going to do the same thing. Delete this. Oh, you know what? I just realized I have this keyed at 0, but I don't have translate X keyed at 1. So before I do anything else, just in case I missed something, I'm going to use the All button. I select the All button and I hit S. And what? Let me see. I'm gonna maximize my graph editor. So to maximize it, I just hovered my mouse in here and I tapped the space bar once, and that made the graph editor the biggest thing. So what I'm looking for, I'm going to hit S, and I want to see if anything else pops in here. I should get some more of these little orange dots pop in if I hit S if I miss something. And it doesn't show that I did. So let's see if I go back to this move tool and translate X. Okay, so it didn't show, it was hard to see, but it did create a translate X key at frame 1 because it wasn't there before. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for my animation, the first 2 frames aren't the same. Like, because yours, there's a straight line in between them, but my first frame is the contact position, and then my next one is the down.
Yeah, what I want you to do, Abby, is move your timeline around. In other words, we started ours at frame 1. If at the contact position, I want you to start yours at the contact position too. So just move your timeline around with in the time bar down here, so that yours is lined up like ours is. Even though your frames may be different, I want you to start yours on a contact position like this.
It is started on a contact. My frame 1 is the contact position.
Oh, good. What were you saying was different then? I know you're.
Well,
yours out differently, like twice.
I mean, my timing is different. So like I have frame 1 and then frame 7, but your frame 1 and your frame 4 are the same. Like they're a straight line, and mine aren't. So if I deleted it, it would be weird.
Okay, so yeah, this is a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So if you have the All button, if your All button is working and you're using it properly, all these frames that we've keyed, 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25, I should be able to select my All button, and if I need to move my timing around, and I'm going to ignore 4 right now because I kind of messed it up because of I was showing you guys how to create that frame, but yeah, these are all straight lines because everything is in stepped right now. I want you guys working in stepped right now so you get used to seeing how it looks. But what I was going to say was the other thing that's important, if I wanted to move this stuff later, I can grab everything, hold down shift, and then drag everything. And I'm not, as long as my all button's not working, I'm not missing anything. Everything should be following. So the all button is really useful to retime your animation. If you have the right poses, but you're just not sure about the timing, you can very quickly make things move faster or slower or add a pause just by grabbing everything. But without the all button, you're not going to do that. So what you're asking though is yours are splined. Is that what you're saying, Abby?
No, mine are. Can I just share my screen and show
Yeah,
you
go
what
ahead.
I'm talking about? Okay. You have disabled screen sharing.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, you should be good.
I have to leave the Zoom call real fast.
Okay. I should probably be pausing our video so we're not recording all this. So your all button is selected.
Yeah.
So make a marquee around everything from 7 and on in the graph editor. There you go. Now grab that yellow line that's in the graph editor and drag that to frame 4. There you go. Now hold down shift. Well, just in case, hit W, just tap W real fast on your keyboard. And now hold down shift and middle mouse drag to the left. There you go. Now hold down control and deselect what you have at frame 4. There you go. Now drag that yellow line on 4 to frame 7. And then hold down shift and middle mouse drag everything to frame 7. Yep. And then keep doing that until you get to the same timing that we have.
Oh, so
So frame 10 would be next. I think that's
so it's just 3 frames in between each pose.
more or less, yeah. I don't think it's exactly on some of them, but maybe the extreme up and down might be. Yeah, so there's your extreme up. And yeah, then 13. So while she's doing this, the reason I wanted to record this is because this is a really good example of why the all button is so important. If she didn't have an all button, it would be harder to select everything and make sure that you have everything to move around. But if you have a functioning all button, this is a lot easier to clean up or just move your timing around, figuring out your timing. And Cody, he's working on a separate project where hopefully he can figure out a simple script that will allow us to create an all button for any rig, and it'll move with the file. So not just on, it doesn't stay on just the computer, but it'll actually move with the rig. So if you move to a different computer, hopefully it'll follow you. All right, so does that answer your question, Abby?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so yeah, you should be in the same position as we are with all of your poses, the contacts, passing, extreme up and downs. All right. I'm gonna screen share again. And so we were fixing frame 4. And you can't, well, actually I was fixing the translate X. So you can see from 4 to 7, he kind of pops to the right in the front view. And the reason for that is we've keyed it at frame 7. There should be a different value. Yeah, you can see at 4, it's 0, and then at 7, it's 0.326. And I don't know if you guys saw what I just did. If I can't remember if I showed you, but you can expand and compress your graph editor. To do that, you hold down Shift and Alt at the same time, and then you right mouse, drag left and right, and that expands it. And that helps you to see the graph a little bit better. Anyway, so I'm going to delete 4. And I already have, well, it looks like 1 is in a flat tangent, but I'm going to linear tangent it. And I'm going to hit S again. So I just created a new frame 4 for translate X, Y, and Z. And technically, or theoretically, I could have done all 3 of those at once. But what I want you guys to be aware of is sometimes you want to, what I really want you guys to get used to doing is paying attention to one attribute at a time. If you just selected the, I knew I needed translate, I needed a linear tangent from 1 to 7 for the main control for X, Y, and Z for the translates. I already knew that. But if you didn't know that, you really want to just see what it does. See, you know, if you hadn't put any, what's it called? Weight shift from 1 to 7, you might not have noticed that. So you can already see that it's getting smoother. And then it's just a matter of fixing the feet. So then I go through, and also the hips. So I could go through and, so from 4 to 7, you see that the hip is changing. So I grab rotate X. And if I zoom in here, that's 0. 7 is also 0. So it's actually not translate X that I'm rotating in. So I'm just going to leave that one alone. Translate or rotate Y, that's what it is. Rotate Z, actually both of those. So maybe I'll grab both of those, delete them at 4, and then 1 to 7. So instead of using, I can use a linear tangent. But I think what I want to do is, because I want to actually stay in that, stay over the foot a little bit longer. And then maybe at the end, I'll have it shift a little bit later. So what I could do is use this flat tangent. And it kind of eases out of that. And then at the end, it kind of will rotate more. So the other thing I can do is instead of, and I'm getting a little into really favoring what's called favoring animation or favoring key poses. So if I hit 4 here, like I've been doing, all the other, at 4, everything is it's staying with the numbers that I've been using, 1, 4, 7, 10, 13. At some point, if I wanted to make 4, or make this pose stay longer, there's a couple of different things I could do. For example, with the rotate Y, I can grab this control that I've keyed, and then I can grab one of these handles, and I can drag it down or up. And you can see if it's up, it's not gonna do what I wanted it to. So generally what you wanna look for in the graph editor are clean transitions between poses. But the other thing I was going to suggest, at some point, I may very well just grab the frames at 4 and offset them, maybe a single frame, so that he does really turn a little bit later. But we can get to offsetting. We can get to offsetting a little bit later. So I pretty much fixed the main button. I'm sorry, the main control. And again, like I said before, you want to fix the main body part first, and then work your way out to the appendages. So now I can select let's go with the foot control at frame 4. And you can see at frame 4, that knee locks straight. So there's a couple things I need to do to unlock it. Most likely what I need to do is go to my foot roll and actually activate the foot roll. And I'll probably need to give it more toe roll. You can see my toes went through the ground there. So I grab my toe roll and get it out of the ground. Also this knee pull vector, I need to pull that forward. Oh, you know what? I forgot also at 4, he's going down. So I need to grab the root or the main control and drag him down. That's what I forgot. He's going down and then he goes up. Yeah, I was thinking he was going up. So grabbing this foot control, you can see it sliding through the ground at frame 3. And I need to look at, I'm not going to fix that right now. You can see that so I'm not sure exactly which value this is that's tangent is on. So if I select one of these dots on that line that I can see is curved, and then I drag through my graph editor, it gives me a little white box to tell me where the which attribute I have selected. So you can see that it's a foot roll. So if I click on the foot roll, that isolates just that animation. So for now, I'm just gonna put that to steps. And I'll come back to fix that later. But the main thing I'm trying to get you guys to is frame 4, 10, what was it? 16, I think, and then 22, the extreme up and downs. So our frame 4 is working better, except that you can see from 1 to 4, the foot actually moves forward. So if I just hit the less than greater than sign, you can see that that toe, and this is one of the most important parts of the walk cycle, is making sure that your foot, when it's planted, stays planted. And on frame 4, it's almost leaving the ground. It's almost to the point where it's gonna leave the ground. Somewhere between 4 and 5, it actually leaves the ground. But at frame 4, what I wanna do is make sure that those toes are still connected to the ground. So I need to move them back just a little bit so that they're where they used to be. So at frame 4, I'm gonna drag it back and I'm gonna put my cursor here and then just greater than, less than. That's pretty close. All right, so then on the right foot, our foot needs to be planted at 4, but not the whole foot. So I'm gonna zero out the foot roll. And the toe, I'm gonna leave a little bit of toe, maybe not quite so much, but I want a little bit of delayed toe flop. So I'm gonna decrease the toe, but I'm still gonna have a little bit of toe flop. So you can see from 4 to 7, at 7, the whole foot is actually planted. And the more I work at this, I may find that maybe there's too much toe flop. So eventually I may take the toe flop out by frame 5 or frame 6. But we know at frame 4, this is more what we're looking for as far as the toe flop. And then his knee's kind of breaking in the front view. So I'm gonna pull this out a little bit, his pull vector, maybe even pull it forward a little bit more. And then this guy should probably pull it down and forward. So again, just remember to keep the pull vectors maybe about a foot in front of the character's knee. And that way it should prevent any kind of knee pops where it goes behind the knee. So that's frame 4. Does anyone have any questions about frame 4? If I just key through this, frame 1, frame 4, frame 7. Everyone's good there? All right, so the next one is this extreme up. So somewhere between, actually that is the up. So let's pretend like I haven't done the up. So I'm gonna redo this. So frame 10, I'm gonna delete frame 10, and we should from 7 to 13. So I'm gonna find a new frame 10. So what can you guys tell me that should happen between frame 7 and frame 10 as far as the root is controlled? Wait, let's focus on the translates. If we just watch this character move forward, so he went down and then he goes passing position. So we know he needs to go up first, right? So the translate Y, I'll start with that. And you can see his feet are actually leaving the ground. So I'm gonna definitely need to make some adjustments to the hips, this rotation, as well as the feet, so that I can actually keep one of these feet planted. So in the translate Z, I'm actually gonna continue to just use a straight line. Like I said, the walk is just, the velocity is continuous. So what I could, well, I'm just so I don't confuse you, I'm just gonna turn this into a linear tangent. And then I'm gonna give myself a new key at frame 10. Translate X, let's see. So yeah, he's still on that, the weight should be over the right leg, because he's, especially right here, because he's standing on that toe, and you're gonna come back down out of that. So one thing, well, okay, so let's just take it from 10. Let's fix these legs before we do much else, because it's gonna help make some of this stuff more, you're gonna understand this a little bit better. So I know I need to rotate this down. Actually, before I rotate it, I'm gonna see how much I can get out of the foot roll first. So I'm gonna give myself as much foot roll as possible. And I know I'm gonna need to pull it back and pull it down, but let's say I give it that much foot roll, and then I'm gonna give it some toe roll I'm trying to get the toes parallel to the ground, about right there. Now I'm gonna relocate this foot control so it's in the right position with frame 7. So the toes should still be right about where my cursor is here. So at frame 10, I need to drag them down and also drag them back. And that's still not giving me enough. I might have pulled them up too high at frame 10. So let's see, there's 7. So I'm gonna drag him down a little bit. I think I pulled him up too high in his main control. So that's better. But now I've moved the feet a little bit too far back. So I'm gonna select the foot control and move it forward until I get the toes so they're not slipping. They're still slipping a little bit forward, so I'm gonna pull them back just a little bit.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you already had the pose,
Mm-hmm.
and then you deleted the key, but now you have to redo the pose. So I'm just wondering why we deleted the key.
Well, I already had these. The reason I'm deleting these poses, frame 4 and frame 10, is because I hadn't shown. I made a video that showed you how to make those, but I don't know where that went. So I'm just recreating that video. So I'm pretending as if I hadn't created those. I'm kind of starting from where you guys left off on Friday. That's the only reason I'm deleting these. So I switch over to the left. Actually, before I switch to the left, I can see that my knee pull vector for my right knee needs to be forward a little bit, and that already helps the knee a little bit. Also, the left foot at frame 10 is going from this position where this is the passing position to the contact position. So I'm gonna pull it forward, and I'm actually gonna, through frame 10, it's actually gonna transition into something more like this. So it's a little bit higher and it's, oh, I'm sorry, that's a 7. Yeah, make sure you're on the right frame. So I want to be at 10. So again, just a reminder, to get to 10, I can either drag my mouse in the graph editor here, or I can hold down the Alt and hit the greater than sign, and that gets me frame by frame to the frames that I want. If I just hit greater than, that skips any unkeyed frames and takes me to the next keyed frame. Holding down Alt and hitting less than or greater than takes me to every frame. So I'm going to rotate that around and repose it. And that knee is just flying all over the place because the pole vector is not in the right spot. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix this while it's visible. Pull that forward. All right, so let's see what 10 looks like. 7, 10, 13. If I look at 10, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see more. 7, 4, 7, 10, 13. That's not too bad. And if we were doing traditional animation, you would draw arcs to connect these dots so that it's fluid motion. But that's essentially what the graph editor is going to do for us is create arcs through these. So I'm also going to step the foot control, put it in step mode. And I think the last thing I needed to fix, I already fixed the knees at 10, is the rotation. Let's see, I'm just checking, maybe there's not much I need to change on it. Yeah, you can see that 12 is really messy. We're gonna have to clean that up. But in the meantime, 7, he probably needs to, yeah, he's staying there. Yeah, so the weight shifts left and right on the extreme poses. When I'm all done with these poses, I'm probably gonna go through and offset 4, 10, 16, and 22. So they happen a little bit later. The weight shift left and right happens a little bit later, so that he's not falling. It's not obvious that he's falling. He's not defying gravity, but that happens at the last second where he shifts weight. And then of course, 16 is the same as, like I said, 4. It looks like I actually pushed 16 down probably a little bit more than I needed to. So I'm going to drag it up a little bit so it's not so extreme. It's closer to 4. And then 22 is the same as 10. It should be. And if I look at those, I could probably rotate this foot down a little bit more. So it looks more like 22. And they don't necessarily have to be perfectly identical or just mirror images of each other, but you want the mechanics to be working the same. So I'm going to select my all button again, and I'm just going to turn everything back to stepped. And I'm just going to play it. Let's see what it looks like. What do you guys think? I'll make this bigger. Does anything stand out to you that needs to be fixed?
I think the body needs to be more forward during the up position.
Okay, let's take a look at that. So the body, moving it forward on the up positions.
Yeah, because it's leaning backwards.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what that does at 16. Maybe I'll even raise this up a little bit more at 16. So there's more propulsion. Yeah, I like that idea. That's good. So what do you guys see in the feet? Does anything bother you about the feet?
There's one where like the toe is just like a banana. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it.
Like this?
Yeah, but like in the background it looks a bit weird. I don't know. Yeah, like right there. At like 10.
At 10?
I think it might be too over exaggerated there.
I think. Well, you know what? Now that you say that, I don't know that it's so much 10. Actually, I think 10 is probably pretty good, but looking at this again, I think maybe 7 is maybe pulled too far forward. Maybe pull this back a little bit more, and maybe that'll transition better for 10. But what I was hoping you guys would see is, I'm gonna select this control. Oops, sorry. From 10 to 13, the foot kind of slides back a little bit. And then again, at 13 to 16, it slides back again. So I want to make sure to keep that foot planted, even the toes planted, until the very last minute when they leave the ground. So 10, I'm going to pull it forward just a little bit. Actually, I think I have it backwards. I think I need to pull it back a little bit. Oh, you know what? It needs to go. You can see there's a translate Y. What happens if I zero this out? Oh, that's not it. I'm going to pull it out of the ground just a little bit at 10. That helps. And then at 13, he definitely steps back. He slides back a little bit at 13. So I'm going to pull it just a little bit forward. Probably a little bit more. There you go. And then at 16, probably the same thing. Pull it forward a little bit more. And then down. Maybe forward a little bit more. So this is a real nitpicky stuff, but this is really where you start to develop a really keen eye for animation. If you can get this kind of stuff really cleaned up so that there's no, it's just really seamless. You don't see that's a lot better. You see how that's better? I could probably still move. I think 10 still isn't quite fixed. I need to pull it maybe forward a little bit. But every change I make to 10 then makes 13 a little different. So these are just minor adjustments that I keep making until it all works together. Yeah, so I need to keep working on that, but that's what I want you guys to start getting into, where you're not just doing the mechanics of it, but you're actually starting to get to polish even before you get to polish, you know, where you're actually using the spline curves to make all the animation perfectly clean. So if you're so one thing I want to say is, you guys know who Tom Cito is? Have you ever heard of Tom Cito? So he's one of the animation legends. He's been in the industry for decades, and he now teaches at USC. He's a really nice guy, like most animators you'll find are. But so he's worked on stuff like from the Flintstones to He-Man to some Disney movies to.
I think he worked on Lion King, now that you say his name.
Yes, he worked on Lion King, a lot of the stuff from the 90s. I think he helped Richard Williams on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So this guy's had a lot of industry experience. But I met him, the first time I met him was in 2008. No, it wasn't 2000. Yeah, it was 2008. I competed, you guys have all heard of SIGGRAPH, right? All right, so at SIGGRAPH, in 2008, I went with a team. At the time, they had this animation marathon. So a group of 3 animators would team up, and they would, I think within 24 hours or something, we would all create an animation, all these teams, these competitions from different schools. And then we'd all be judged. And our team didn't, we didn't win anything, unfortunately. But Tom was one of the judges. And I think at the time he was working at DreamWorks. And when he came to our what's it called? Our little group, so we had blocked out our animation, And I made the mistake of telling him, it doesn't look very good right now because it's in blocking. And do you have any, does anyone want to guess what he told me? It's stuck with me ever since. So again, I told him, it doesn't look very good right now because it's in blocking. So he told me, if it doesn't look good in blocking, it's never going to look good. And I felt really stupid after I said that, because I realized that was really naive, and it was pretty obvious that I didn't understand animation very well, even though I had already graduated from college. So these are your blocking poses. Well, I guess really your keys, 1, 13, 19, 25 are your blocking poses. And well, this is all still blocking, really. I mean, we're not in spline yet. And again, I just want to emphasize, if students just grab all the animation in the graph editor and turn it into spline, it's not going to look very good. There's going to be certain things that need to stay in stepped. So you need to maintain control of the decisions. Too often students let the computer make the decision, and it's not always the right one, because the computer's just going to average between 2 points. It doesn't care what it looks like. If it's breaking through the ground, or if 2 pieces of geometry are penetrating through. So are there any questions about working in spline? I'm not working in spline, but working out the extreme poses 4, 10, 16, and 22? And I don't know if it's obvious to you guys, but with these poses so far, it kind of feels snappy, but there's no, the knees don't ever lock completely straight. You can see there's kind of a pop here at 7, but the knee is still slightly bent. And even here at the extreme pose, it's still slightly bent. If you keep your knees slightly bent, you're not going to get the real obvious pops that look wrong. So heel strike, squash. Oh, that's the other thing. So we're also incorporating the principles of animation. This is your squash, and this would be your extreme up would be your stretch, squash, stretch. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but if we, like I said before, if we traced out the movement of the ball, we should see a pretty nice wave, like a sine wave, an undulation. So there's your arc. All right, so do you guys have any questions at all? Everyone feels pretty comfortable getting these next 4 poses knocked out? All right. So I'm going to stop the video at this point, and we'll work on you. I'll give you guys some work time so I can answer your questions as you're working on this.